Welcome to The Daily Show.
Thank you.
And congratulations on making a movie that has taken you, what, 2 decades to finally put together?
I read the book. I read the book about the time we were putting out Fight Club, so
Right.
20 years ago, yeah.
So you read this book when you were making Fight Club, and like the story gripped you, and then you were like, I'm going to make this movie.
Yes, well, it's a great, the character, in case you don't understand what you just saw there, he has Tourette's syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder, and he's a detective, but he trips himself up quite a lot, as you can see.
Right.
He's not exactly the Bogart smooth detective.
Right, it's a different type of story, and I mean, that's what made the book interesting, was it was a story of a PI who has Tourette's and also his OCD, but is brilliant. And as the readers, we fall in love with this character, you know, because we root for the underdog, you know. And you've taken that story and you've turned it into a movie. But what's interesting is the book was set in the modern day era, it was like in the 90s, and then you've taken it to the 50s. Why?
Well, it has the power of the novel is just what you said. It's your deep identification with this guy with his very chaotic, hilarious, poignant mind.
Right.
And the plot, it's hard to explain. In the novel, it feels like a 50s gumshoe novel, though it's set in modern Brooklyn.
Interesting.
But in a way, what we wanted to do was stick to the feel of it.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of films like LA Confidential and Chinatown and things like that. I love those films that really take you back into a sensual, atmospheric time where, you know, the magic of movies, when it's that you go into those worlds and you go, wow, this is really cool. The music is great, the actors are adult and great, and the dialogue is great, and then they take you down into sort of a dark weave of the dark things that are going on in society. But I really liked the idea of doing that with a character who's a little different than your typical gumshoe.
It's interesting that you say the story takes us back to a time, because although the story is set in the 50s, it feels very much applicable to what life is like today, because I won't spoil anything for you, but this is basically a story about a racist landlord from New York who's destroying the world.
Yes. And he's played by Alec Baldwin.
Well,
yeah. I want to qualify that because there's no wigs involved, no small hands. And it's not based on our insane clown president. It's not. It's really not. There was a true Darth Vader in New York in the 20th century named Robert Moses, who, unlike others, was a genius.
Right.
He was a genius, a dark genius, but kind of like Anakin Skywalker gone over into Darth Vader. He was this great progressive thinker who went very dark, and to a degree that people really don't understand. He ran New York City like an imperial fiefdom for nearly half a century, and everything that was done in this city that in some ways baked discrimination into the infrastructure of the city was done by him.
Right.
And so in the same way that, let's say, Chinatown is sort of the story of how LA's original crime is that it stole all its water, what we wanted to do was sort of tell the secret history of New York in some ways.
It really does make it a story, because on the surface, everyone will immediately jump to Trump. But as you've said, what it really does, and I guess Noir is a perfect format for this, is that like it tells the understory of the ugly underbelly of New York, and how people were forced to live where they were forced to live, and how this shaped their lives, oftentimes in a really negative way.
Yeah, and look, I think that it's true. Noir films, you know, it's not the dime store gumshoe novels, but real noir it's a great tradition in American film. It's a commentary that in some ways we have this narrative of our country, we're proud of it, we're invested in it, and we go along in our daily lives trusting it for the most part. Noir kind of peels the corner back and says, hey, there are things going on in the shadows that we should be concerned about. There are people who are rigging the game, and if we tolerate it too much, they're going to do us damage. And I think that remains a very healthy challenge to the public narrative. And I think in some ways the only tricky thing on this one was I was essentially going to people and saying, hey, it's sort of like LA Confidential, but Rain Man is at the center of it. And some people's eyes sort of crossed. But I do think that sometimes an underdog, like someone who you root for not despite their affliction, but because of it, and because of their unique characteristics.
Right.
It engenders your empathy, and I think when you feel empathy for a character, it reminds you in some ways like what you care about the most. You want to be the kind of person who roots for Forrest Gump or, Rain Man.
Right.
And I think that in a lot of ways, to me, Motherless Brooklyn, the title of this great novel, it was not just applicable to the idea of people looking out for each other on a personal level, but the idea that we need to not orphan our own communities. We need to stand up as citizens and take care of each other. And I think we're in the middle of that argument again, amazingly. I think whether we're going to confer a heroic value in America on the idea that we take care of each other, or whether we're going to romance power. And I think that's what this digs around in.
I think it digs deeper, and then you enjoy a movie, but at the end of the day, you walk out and you're like, damn, I'm living in the 1950s modern-day version of a 1990s, 2017, 2019 modern-day, old-time movie that you've put together. You directed, starred, and produced and wrote the movie. This is...
I'm getting exhausted as you say it.
That's really complicated for somebody to do. Was there ever a point where you thought you were working with other people, and then at the end of it all, you were like...
It was all me.
You were like, it was all you?
Yeah, it was Tyler Durden times 5.
It was just you all over.
Yeah.
But that must have been a weird process. Why did you choose to take all of that on?
Well, look, there's sometimes when a story is rattling around in your head, and I'm not joking, when it is a little strange, when the mashup is a little strange, and the music is done by Tom York and Wynton Marsalis, you know what I mean? Those are things I love. They don't necessarily go together, but they do.
Right.
You have to have conviction in a way that the mashup of things you're interested in is going to lead to something original and great. And but sometimes you don't want to try to direct something through someone else's hands. But plus, honestly, a lot of the when I was 18 or 19 and Do the Right Thing came out, it was one of the seminal experiences of my young adult life in terms of. Here's this guy, Spike Lee, he's this kid. Who is he? He wrote and produced and directed and starred in a movie about his neighborhood in Brooklyn. And it was wildly entertaining with great music and mashups of Public Enemy and jazz and all this stuff. And it was also this deep commentary on American life. It was as trenchant and explosive a forced conversation about race without easy answers. And for a lot of us, a film like that just rewrote the what we were aspiring to. And I think when you've done this long enough and you get a chance, sometimes you want to take a swing at doing something like that, like tell a story that matters to you and tell it in an interesting way and do something original. I was very inspired by Spike. I was inspired by Warren Beatty, who directed Reds, and wrote it and produced it. And sometimes it's hard to explain to people why you want to do something, and when you feel that way, you just got to do it.
Well, you did it, and you did it well. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Motherless Brooklyn is in theaters now. Edward Norton, everybody.